Hello guys, it is that Panda again. I'm here again with another video, and today we're going to be looking at the island raid, and I'm happy to do this video as it was honestly a good island raid, and I'll be trying to split this into a few parts. I put so much into this one video. I edited so much down and tried to 10 times a lot of the footage, and it's going to be a lot of tower swarms, and I'll kind of explain how island went and how the results ended up being what they were, and just overall why HNB ended up losing this island. So if you guys are interested, buckle up and let's do this. So to start off, HNB started building for kind of where our towers were going to, and they were trying to, I think, cut us off. That or they were just trying to connect into our towers, but these guys ended up neglecting their own village, and they ended up using all their building material to aim directly for our flank, which ended up becoming very catastrophic, if you had to ask me, for the overall results of this island, because they ended up running out of building material. We even dropped two of the towers that they were trying to drop onto us, which put them even further behind that they could have been in, like, just the tower game, because losing two towers, especially early game like that, is really detrimental, and making sure you can get every single tower drop is very vital. So the fact they failed the drop was just painful. It did them a lot of harm. And you see it right here. We're about to drop this tower. They were trying to build into our flank and try to do a little bit more damage to us, kind of spread us a little bit more. But boom, we overwhelmed them on the field. We dropped this tower. We move back to our bases. And then they do it another time later on, and we do this again. And I will note that they swapped the captain a bit, and they ended up messing up for a little bit there and swapped it to like Tom and something. But overall, they just couldn't manage this tower. They couldn't overwhelm the field, and we just had the majority of the activity there. I will say it was a bit of a back and forth, though. We had a lot of instances where we pushed them and they pushed our towers, and we both got overwhelmed on the field. And I think this was a mix of just different times of being active, as well as when, like, you have, like, I don't know, let's say 30 T6 players on your field, right? And let's say you do have 30 T6 players. It's just really hard to rush them and push them off the field and overwhelm them. And, for example, when we were fighting mega whales and stuff, it was just a pain. So overall, you didn't really want to deal with that. And, this is another instance of the tower dropping, by the way, for anybody wondering. We were kind of blocking the field, making sure they couldn't fill this thing. And I will note something that really ticked me off. Was that BOON pushing this tower. And the biggest thing for me was, I feel like we really should have waited to push any towers, because we were burning out a lot of our whales could manage, right? And they could probably keep this up for a while, but they needed to make sure they preserved their troops, because, this is an endurance fight. Fighting HNB is no joke, obviously. These guys are bees, and I think, the same could be said about BOON, whereas even if you are able to, push them back or something, this is an alliance with an insurmountable amount of strength and just amount of troops and stuff that you have to burn through. And even if we drop this tower and burn it, it's like we're going to be stuck burning this tower. We're going to have to... Okay, listen, guys. So let's say we drop this tower, we burn it one time. They could insta-repair that tower. We're going to need to burn it for at least 2 more times, maintain field control for around 30 minutes, etc., etc. And my point was, they also had their strongest garrison captain there. They were only in one tower, meaning that they weren't even spread into multiple towers, forced to defend multiple. They could have all their players ready to defend this tower. Overall, it was just very stupid to me, and I found it really irritating that we kept pushing this tower. And I kept trying to say in chat, we should wait. We really need to make sure that we spread them a bit more before we're putting pressure on this tower. And I don't know. I mean, maybe it was the right call, but me personally, I get ticked off at this type of stuff. It really gets on my nerves. And I was just saying in chat, come on, guys, let's wait a while before we try to put pressure and all this type of stuff. And it was really getting on my nerves. I do also want to note in this video, you're going to not see me on the field as much, and it'll be the same with the other videos. So I do want to note that I will be fighting on my actual computer, and I was recording mostly off my phone, and my Pandy account only got like 80 million points, which, I mean, isn't bad, but obviously it's not my normal point quota. But yeah, I just wanted to note that so you guys aren't like, why aren't you fighting a lot, huh? Why are you being a pussy? But that's not it, guys. I'm only slightly puss, all right? All right, and yeah, they started putting pressure on our towers. Like I said, it was the same with HNB, where they had their strongest garrison captain in the only tower that they could connect to, right? And it was the same for us. We had our strongest garrison captain set down, And this put us in a pretty good spot here to just make sure we had our main focus of troops going into this, as well as just our strongest captain, meaning the trades were as good as they possibly could be. And just talking about the overall situation, I will note that later down the line, you won't see it in this video, but we do end up spreading into quite a few mounted towers against HNB, and that goes across the span of the map of being, I would like to say, 10 to maybe even 20-ish towers, right? And we were just spreading as many Garrison captains with Peterson and Lewis into as many of those as possible who were T6, high-tech, decent gear, and it was becoming a struggle at some point, and I think it was the same with them. But obviously, swarming a tower is no joke. I think in the case of HNB, they could have maybe performed better if they had went for better tower swarms. For example, I was garrisoning one of the towers, and I won't say I'm weak, but if you drop like a tower swarm suddenly on, one of my towers and we're not able to keep it full, boom, you can maybe melt that thing pretty fast. I remember scouting some towers, and there was one tower where I saw that the Peterson and Lewis wasn't actually awakened, and that kind of told me the player holding this isn't a whale. So we took some of our whales, they poured it in, boom, they got a pretty good tower swarm. They didn't get the burn off, but they got really good trades because we took advantage of that kind of stuff. And I feel like the mega whales and HNB, envy hands with hundreds of millions of troops they could burn through. This makes it way easier, and I feel like they could have taken advantage of this a lot more and maybe gone in for more swarms to kind of spread us, make us port a bit more. And this is the exact strat that we used against them, which I feel like they failed to use against us equally as much. And I mean, being the fact that these guys were kind of stuck and we started kind of forcing them to go on the offensive, they really need to take advantage of that as soon as possible. And we had, I would like to say, a Garrison captain advantage. And it wasn't even the numbers. I feel like there were people like Whiskey, for example. I noticed that he had all 5 of his marches when I think he should have been in a Garrison. I might be wrong, and he might have just taken them out at some points. But I noticed that that was the case, and he should have been garrisoning something and making it possible for his members to keep filling. But at some point, they ran out of actual proper captains. And even if they had captains, they were just weak players trying to scare us off, kind of imitating the thing. Because I mean, for example, I saw a few people with maybe blue gear, even I wouldn't say green, but it was maybe blue and purple, and this is like weak for whales. So that's the type of thing that they would be willing to rally. That's the type of thing they'd be willing to swarm and get really good trades on, and at some point you start putting those into all the other all the other towers that you can, and it becomes really hard to spread through, and you just have your whales porting back and forth, trying to defend or attack everything. I don't know. This island was really nice. I think that it was well played by both sides. I think obviously HNB made a mistake, and it was bound to happen. You can't really blame them. And I think it was a good plan in theory, but it didn't work out because they ended up just burning out of all their building material. We managed to wrap around through middle. We cut them off before they could make it through middle, and they ended up having to really play a long game, right? And they're trying to build them longer towers, trying to find a weak point, but we ended up snapping them before they could actually get to us. And this made it like we started taking advantage of, I guess, the push. And the second we started popping one tower, we started moving forward because we had all these captains who were able to free up their their garrison spots. We were able to keep moving up, and we started cutting towers off. We started just forcing them to focus on some areas over others. And then when they started just devoting their time into, like, for example, the village, we started managing to cut the towers off from our flank. And then we managed to zero, people. We were able to cut them off and completely chop the link and, cut off any access point to our flank. So overall, I think that BOON and us played it really well. I do also want to thank our allies, Arkham, as well as AC-18. They put in a bit of work. I think AC-18 a bit with double rallies. They tried to help us. I think it was a bit harder because in this bracket, it's just hard for an alliance like AC-18 to really do much. Even if they're able to help with double rallies, I feel like the results are just hard to trade positive on. And even on the field, it's like, how are they supposed to put up much field presence against these whales? So I feel like they couldn't really do much. The same was with Arkham, although I think Arkham did a bit good with the field. Even if they weren't able to like clear the field, for example, even them giving momentary distractions or just taking HNB's focus away from us at times made it a little bit easier for us to make pushes or even just field, because I feel like we burn through so much resources in this island that it's really hard for us to do field fighting 24/7. Overall, I do think that we did really well, though. I think my alliance did awesome. I appreciate BOON for being freaking champs. And like I said, this was a good island. I think HNB put up a pretty good fight, and they did their best, honestly. And you'll see it here. They start spreading us into more towers now, and they start trying to build a longer towers on our flank to try to, I guess, just spread us loose as thin as possible and find weak points. But we do manage to hold on, thankfully. And I was actually scared to go to sleep. Let me tell you guys, I was so scared to sleep because I didn't want to sleep and wake up to us being completely cut off. And I do wake up to some juicy reports from our leadership, but luckily they managed to hold on. And, I'm the Eastern time leader for BOON. So, like, the thing is that they wanted me to make sure I got my sleep. Nam gave me a little freaking kiss in the chat. He was like, all right, go to sleep, guys. And, I went to sleep. I woke up and I felt like Nam had put a blanket on me. He woke me up to freaking kisses and cookies, and I was freaking happy to fight. But I'm sorry, guys. I'm being freaking weird and cringy right now. But yeah, it was a good fight. It was like day one, and we had already far over 1 billion points 1 hour in, right? Or not far over. It was like 1 billion points 1 hour into the event, man. That was freaking crazy. I don't know how these alliances do that. And I consider being back in Prime, and I'd get like a 1 billion points, and I'd be happy. We get 1 billion points throughout the whole event, and I was a happy freaking cookie. And now we're getting like over 10 billion points, which is absolutely insane. You have some people putting up 1 billion points by themselves. Just freaking monsters, honestly. And I'm glad that the whales were able to somewhat listen when I needed kind of assistance, or I needed them to pinpoint certain towers, because I was trying to help them. I was trying to manage what towers they should start aiming for. I was trying to put it in chat, and thankfully they worked well with me. The synergy was nice. And I do want to note that our big whales, like the Shy, Big Daddy, and, Captain, the new whales here, have been putting up some insane numbers and insane work. So I'm freaking happy that these guys joined. This made all the difference in this fight. And honestly, it was freaking awesome. I will note that some swarms like these were disgusting to me. Like, we end up swarming a lot of towers that I feel like we need to stop committing. Like, for example, we might melt a tower down to 500k troops. Someone ports in, they fill the tower, and I feel like it would have been better if we kind of stopped swarming towers like these, and if our whales were more, I don't know. It's hard to find the wording, but I feel like they overcommitted some tower swarms. Like, we went in for easy swarms. Once you see they start filling that tower fast, they have people start porting in, you probably want to back up. This is really a game of endurance. I feel like all those troops are going to matter. If you're getting really good trades there, good. Then after they, get, for example, hands in a tower, you want to pull off. They start filling the tower max capacity. Those swarms aren't doing as much as they were, and it's not like you got a rally hitting the thing, because we were trying to, we're trying to do sneak attacks. It's so frustrating, guys. The fight was like a mind battle, and the thing is, I was on like guard duty the whole time. I was looking throughout island the whole time, because if all it takes is one whale just wanting to go swarm a tower, and then boom, you might have a tower burnt, you might take really bad trades, and then everybody's down a bunch of troops that you could have actually prevented. So I'm over here scouring island the whole time, and since we're spread into 2 spots, I'm kind of bouncing back and forth, checking, making sure no whales are going rogue, going crazy. And it's hard, guys, believe me. I was stressing, I was frustrated, and I was ready for this island to end. It's like one of those islands that's like, okay, it's a lot of fun, but I don't want to do it. It's a fun experience, but I don't want to be here. But yeah, I'm sorry if I've been just talking my butt off, guys. I just wanted to talk about that and just blabber. Who doesn't? I feel like you guys watched my videos because I'm gonna blabber, and you guys just don't care at this point. And you know what? I appreciate you guys for just having zero care in the world. Also here we have Nam. It was Tom Regro. I was willing to put a Garrison captain in here, and I think Nam was like, okay, my gear's better, so I'll do this. But I feel like Peterson and Lewis, even if you have purple parts and stuff, it's better that you have someone like that putting their Garrison captain in, because if you get like a whale like this, this swarm could have dropped this tower really fast. The trades were bad, even though we kept this thing full compared to like Peterson. And who's able to maintain these towers a lot longer. And not only that, it discourages swarms a lot more, because if you see someone with like Peterson and Lewis in their tower, and then you see a tower with like Raygro and Martin or something, the Raygro Martin tower, you're going to be like, okay, this is easy. I'm swarming this thing right now. I'm going to melt this thing as fast as possible, and I'm going to milk this thing for kills. But if you see, Peterson and Lewis, you're like, yeah, let me look for the next tower. Even if it's someone weaker, as a Garrison captain, you generally want to look for those towers. And you see here, we actually traded negative on that tower, even though we managed to keep it full throughout the whole duration of that thing. We had people around the tower, and it's just harder to keep full in general. So even if you have like weaker captains, it's definitely more optimal to try to set them up in these towers. Also, I think this was me waking up, by the way. I think I woke up to this, and this was after all the freaking fights had already been going down throughout the night. I roll out of bed, and I just see a like tower swarm going down. And I'm like, why is this happening right when I wake up? I think 2 or 3 days in a row, I didn't even have breakfast until like 2 or 3 p.m., right? Because I had woken up and it was just fight. You wake up and you're just fighting. That's basically how it is. And I'm exhausted, I'm drained. And, those are the type of fights that are very fun. But guys, I just want to sleep sometimes. I want to lay in bed and, I want to relax. But it's not that easy in Island Raid, okay? Okay, and yeah, they were trying to, I guess, swarm one of the towers and then rally the other. I don't know what the plan there was. Maybe spread us a bit. But I think at this point, had been building up their mid. And maybe HNB had finally taken their village and started trying to counter to stop us from completely cutting them off, which they were unsuccessful at. We just kind of cut them off. And I think this is about to be the end of the video. You're going to be looking at a bunch of reports now. And yeah, I do appreciate you guys, though. And these reports, by the way, are going to be the reports from when I was sleeping. So you won't see any footage of these. But apparently Samuel got rallied or something and he got swarmed. And look at these trades. This is insane. I do appreciate you guys, like I said, though, for watching as always. And I'll see you guys in the next one. It's been a pleasure, and I will see you. Peace.